At 25, he felt like a failure. At 30, his friends were getting married, buying homes, building careers. At 35, social media became torture. Every scroll felt like a reminder that everyone else was winning. Everyone except him. People stopped asking about his dreams. Instead, they asked questions that felt like attacks. So, what are you doing these days? When are you going to settle down? Don't you think you're running out of time? He laughed, pretended it didn't bother him. But every night, lying awake in the dark, he felt the same fear. Maybe they're right. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe this is all I'll ever be. Years passed. Nothing changed. No breakthrough. No recognition. No applause. Just failure after failure after failure. And then something happened. Not overnight. Not magically. But slowly. The same man people ignored became the man people admired. The same man people doubted became the man people envied. The same man who once felt invisible became impossible to ignore. And here's the strange part. By the time he finally succeeded, he was no longer the same person. Because there is something dark that happens to a man who spends years struggling while everyone else seems to move ahead. Something society rarely talks about. Success doesn't just change these men. The struggle changes them first. And sometimes, the struggle changes them forever. The invisible years, why nobody believes in him. The hardest years aren't the years when you fail. They're the years when nobody notices you're trying. People see the successful man. They see the money, the confidence, the achievements. What they don't see are the years he spent being invisible. The years where he worked while nobody was watching. The years where his efforts produced nothing. The years where he doubted himself every single day. Imagine waking up every morning with a dream nobody else believes in. Imagine giving everything you have to something that gives nothing back. Most people quit there. Most people decide the pain isn't worth it. But some men stay. Not because they're confident, not because they're fearless, but because they become addicted to the possibility that tomorrow might finally be different. And that's where the transformation begins. Because prolonged struggle changes the human mind. It forces a man to develop something most people never will. The ability to keep moving without validation. Without applause, without proof, and that kind of mental strength is born only in darkness. The psychology of being left behind. There is a unique pain that comes from watching everyone else move ahead. Friends get promoted. Friends get married. Friends buy houses. Friends seem to be building lives while you're still trying to build yourself. And every success around you starts to feel like evidence against you. Social media makes it worse. Every achievement becomes a reminder. Every celebration becomes another reason to question yourself. You start wondering if you're broken, if you're too late, if everyone received a map for life except you. What makes this dangerous is that comparison slowly poisons identity. The man stops focusing on his journey. He becomes obsessed with everyone else's. And that's when many dreams die. Not because people fail, but because they convince themselves they're behind. The truth. Life doesn't follow a schedule. But fear doesn't care about truth. Fear only cares about appearances. And for years, these men fight a battle nobody sees. The battle against feeling left behind. When rejection becomes fuel. Most people think rejection destroys confidence. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it creates something else. Something darker. Imagine hearing no for years. Imagine being overlooked. Dismissed. Ignored. Laughed at. At first it hurts. Then it angers you. Then something strange happens. The rejection stops feeling personal and starts becoming fuel. The man develops a silent obsession, not with proving others wrong, but with proving himself right. Every insult becomes energy. Every failure becomes motivation. Every doubt becomes another reason to continue. And while everyone else sees disappointment, he's quietly building resilience. The kind of resilience that only comes from surviving disappointment repeatedly. The world calls it determination, but beneath it often lies years of pain transformed into purpose. The dark side of isolation. Success often requires sacrifice, but nobody talks about what those sacrifices do to a person. Late success men often spend years alone, working, learning, improving, while everyone else is living. The problem is, isolation changes people. You become comfortable being alone. Too comfortable. You learn not to depend on anyone. You stop expecting support. You stop asking for help. Eventually, independence becomes emotional armor. And armor protects, but it also separates. The same loneliness that helped build him can make it difficult for him to connect later. Because while he was chasing success, parts of him were quietly learning how to survive without people. And survival is very different from connection. Why late success creates emotional detachment. Here's the irony. Many men dream that success will finally make them happy. But by the time success arrives, they're often emotionally exhausted. The dream they chased for years finally becomes reality. Yet the feeling they expected never fully arrives. Why? Because the struggle changed them. The things that once excited them no longer have the same effect. The approval they wanted suddenly feels meaningless. The people who ignored them now want access to them. And trust becomes difficult. They begin questioning motives, questioning loyalty, questioning intentions. Success solved some problems, but it created new ones. And many late success men discover something shocking. Winning doesn't automatically heal the wounds created by losing. The revenge fantasy most men never admit. There's a secret many men never talk about. For years, they imagine the moment everyone finally sees them. The moment doubters regret doubting. The moment critics become silent. The moment the world realizes it was wrong. It's a revenge fantasy, not necessarily against specific people, but against every moment they felt small. Every moment they felt overlooked. Every moment they felt like they didn't matter. The fantasy becomes powerful because pain demands meaning. The brain wants justice. It wants balance. It wants the suffering to count for something. But when success finally comes, most men discover something unexpected. The people they wanted to impress aren't thinking about them at all. And that's when they realize the battle was never against the world. It was against themselves. The hidden cost of finally winning. Nobody prepares you for what happens after success. People think the hardest part is reaching the top. Sometimes the hardest part is discovering what's waiting there. Because goals provide direction. Struggle provides purpose. But what happens when the goal is achieved? Many men feel empty. Not because success is meaningless, but because they spent so many years chasing that they never learned how to arrive. Their identity became attached to pursuit, to struggle, to proving themselves. And once there's nothing left to prove, a new question appears. Who am I now? The answer isn't always easy. Because success changes your life, but it doesn't automatically answer the deeper questions about who you are. The dark psychology of men who succeed late in life isn't really about success. It's about transformation. It's about what happens when a man spends years fighting battles nobody sees. Years of rejection, years of loneliness, years of self-doubt, years of uncertainty. Most people only see the result. They see confidence, discipline, achievement. But confidence wasn't the beginning of the story. Pain was. The truth is that late success often creates stronger men because they were forced to survive without guarantees, without validation, without certainty. And that's why their success feels different. It wasn't given. It was earned in silence, built in darkness, forged through years when quitting would have been easier. So if you're in those invisible years right now, remember this: the chapter you're living today may one day become the reason you're unstoppable. Because sometimes the men who arrive last are the ones who are being built the longest.